And hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of One Take because life has no rehearsal. Today, I am very glad to bring Ramiro Sosa, all the way from the West Coast, actually. I mean, like, it must be like early morning or something for him. So, Ramiro is Ramiro has a long history of working inside companies. He's very different than the typical advertising guy you've been seeing so far. He's worked on the belly of the beast. He's worked for the companies. Today, he has a consulting firm. He does marketing for all sorts of companies. He specializes a lot on startups, but we're talking about an experience that involves clients of just about every budget. So, Ramiro, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Welcome to One Take.
My pleasure, Marcelo. How are you?
Good, good. Just tell us briefly about your consulting firm.
Yes, it really happened as an accident. After I left Miami and moved to San Francisco, um, and I was looking for work here, and I began kind of interacting with startups uh, and going to their presentations and just talking to the engineers and the founders. And one day, one told me, "Hey, look, we have this product. We don't know how to market it. Would you help us?" And I said, "Okay, okay. I don't know much about it, but let's give it a try." So I helped them out, and it was a really good experience, and that led to, you know, meeting other founders, and that's how it got started.
No, that's absolutely great. So, one of the things, by the time we get to be our age, normally we don't have like one single decisive moment. Unless, like a friend of mine whose name is Boris, he got shot in Colombia with an M16
Hmm.
or something like that. So that was a decisive moment for him. But people our age, we have many decisive moments. However, we always have one or two decisive moments that we know, especially in retrospect, hindsight is 2020, that that moment really defined our career. So share it.
Absolutely, yeah. So this happened a few years after I moved from Argentina to the US. I was in Miami, and I was working for an ad agency, and I was really happy. I was working on really amazing accounts like Budweiser, Nokia, and others. And one day, the phone rings. I answer. It's Sony. And they wanted to talk to me. They had an open role for running marketing in Latin America. So I went through the interview process. I got an offer, and I wasn't really sure about it because I was really happy doing what I was doing. And one of that week, I went to have dinner with one of my friends, and I told him about the Sony offer, and that I wasn't really very interested in it. And he was in the industry. He was a creative, a very good creative. And he told me, "Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Sony's making you an offer to run marketing across the Latin American region, and you're not going to take it? You, you're so stupid," he said. You should go home and think about it." So I did. I went home and I thought about it, and I ended up taking it. So thanks to him. Yeah. And it
So
was one
the
of the best decisions I've made, actually. Yeah.
so I gotta ask the follow-up question. I mean, that guy gave you the best advice ever. Changed your life for the Sony, by the way. For the viewers that don't know Sony, great brand in Latin America. Great brand. I also work with them as a consultant. I launched a few of the programs in Mexico. I launched when they changed from English to Portuguese, I launched the stations in Brazil. It is one of the top sterling brands ever in Latin America. You work for the top. So the question is,
That's right.
what wine, what bottle of wine did you give your friend as a gift for such good advice?
Oh, uh, we had many bottles of wine, over the years, many good ones. But yeah, and I really, I was really appreciative of the advice he gave me. Yeah,
You should.
I owe
You
him a
really
lot,
should.
really,
Yeah.
because after working for those brands. Yeah, the exposure that those brands gave you, it's really amazing. I really learned a lot working at Sony. It was really a fantastic experience.
Yep. No, no, I agree. I mean, it's a sterling brand. It is as good as it gets. So let's talk about industry for a while. You've been in many industries by now. I mean, you've been on the client side, you've been on the media side, but mainly you've worked a lot with clients. You know, like DirecTV, for example, Sony. Um, we all also, because we are a certain age, we can predict things that are going to happen. You see them and you connect the dots and you say, oh yeah, that thing is going to happen. So what change took you absolutely by surprise in your industry that you could have never imagined?
Ooh, the one thing that I still think about that was never going to happen is that back in the day, advertising and marketing too um, was a creative-led industry. What basically fundamentally what you sell in advertising is ideas, is creative. Uh, but these days, most of the advertising and marketing that I see is data-led. It's no longer uh, creative-led. And I'll tell you, I have nothing against data. To the contrary, I love data. The more, the better. It gives us, a lot of insight into what's going on. But when we start relying on data for the most part, uh, what begins to happen is that the work begins to be a commodity, you
Yep.
know. And when we're all reading the same data, we all begin to kind of do the same thing. So you open, you know, your phone or your social media feed or your TV or any media, and you will see that all the ads are the same. Uh,
Yep.
and so,
Except for
I
one
think
or two. Yes.
it's a little bit contradictory because I thought data was going to allow us to be better as an industry, but things uh, didn't get much better. And I allow myself to be a very good critic of marketing and advertising because I love the craft and I want it to be better, and I have to be critical of it. Yeah, it hasn't really gotten as better as better as good as I thought it was going to be. And I'll give you a sobering statistic. Havas has this global brand survey that they do over the years, and one sobering statistic that I read in that study is that 75% of people would not care if their most brands disappeared. That
Wow.
really gives you a sense of, how marketing is
Commoditized.
working these days. It's and that's the U.S. number. Excuse me, that's a global number. If you focus on the U.S. Number, it gets really worse because here in the U.S. we've been exposed to commercial messaging for a lot longer, so we're more cynic about advertising. Uh, in other parts of the world, it's not as bad, but yeah. Um,
One aspect of the branding too, uh, which I think about a lot. Like you, I love the craft. I love advertising. I really do. I began as a creative, and I switched to media because I love negotiating. I really do, and I really enjoyed it. And I like the mathematical part. Like you, I like
yeah.
the data. But one of the things too that probably impacts that is viewership on like broadcast television has really gone down. Let me give you an example. For example, baseball, which is considered, the most American sport. Baseball has a rating of like 1. That's it. 1% is watching baseball. That's it. So we have lost I don't know, the tentpole part of having a brand because we all saw the same advertising. We all saw the same brand.
Mhm.
It sort of meant the same thing for all of us. But today, I might be watching Netflix, no commercials, or YouTube, some commercials. You might be watching something else, and then, you know, half of the people are watching broadcast television, another half is probably watching connected TV, another half is probably watching streaming, another
Hmm.
half is just wasting their time on YouTube, like me. So we have lost the universality, no, univers-
Universality, probably. Yeah.
universality, yes, of
Yeah.
brands. Do you think that might be something to the effect of, you know, the way we have lost brands?
Yeah, media has to do a lot with it. Or media is so divided these days that it's really difficult to catch audiences the way we used to, where sometimes you could launch an ad, even a Super Bowl ad, you reach most of the population, but nowadays, a Super Bowl ad reaches what, 5% of the population, 6, 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, one other number that really caught my attention recently is that uh, if you take all the ad inventory in the US uh, for any media and you count the number of ads in that inventory for a year, only about uh, 60% of the ads, uh, excuse me, less than 60% of the ads ever touch an eyeball. So most of the inventory never reaches the audience.
Wow.
Uh, Numbers that I'm sure as a media professional you know about them, and it really depends on what studies you read. The number might change, but you know, uh, most of the inventory never touches eyeballs. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And if you think of the how much money that is, uh, it really it's mind-boggling.
Yeah. No, I was kind of aware of that happening on the web, of course, being that today even they even have a name for it, which is the dead web, which is a lot of content generated by bots, which is also clicked on by bots. So it's a bot talking to a bot, and no human has been harmed in the creation of this advertising.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how you face that, that data-driven commoditization. So what was your reaction to it? How did you pivot into that?
Oh, so um, there's little you can do about people watching or being in different media, uh, especially if you're a small brand. Um, but the best thing you can do is to really get your audience, what triggers them, what's important to them, what role your product or service plays in their lives, and work around that. Uh, I think, yeah, getting to know who you're serving, who you're working for, it's the best thing you can do. Uh, Media, you cannot control it really,
Right.
unless you have billions of dollars to invest in it, which is not the case for the vast majority of brands.
Of course.
Uh, the best thing is to get your customer.
Yeah, that probably brings us into one of my favorite parts of the media world, which is segmentation. Segmentation has changed a lot. Actually, the United States used to be really backwards. People would say, oh, our target is adults, I don't know, 18 to 49. And at the time, I would tell them, I don't know, man. You see, my daughter is 18 and she's poor like a rat. She has nothing to her name. I bought everything. My wife, on the other hand, is 49 or was 49 at some time. And she just, she owns a Jeep, a very expensive Jeep, a Grand Cherokee Limited Laredo thing. She's half owner of this house, like it's a completely different thing, but she's a made woman. I mean, like she has habits and she has, brand experiences. So I never agreed as a media guy with this, adults 18 to 49. So now, today, it is absolutely possible to physically segment groups like, I don't know, Christian leaning 50-year-old males who live in a rural environment. You can actually get to that. So you can make messages that, to your point, make sense to them. And then, if you don't have a lot of budget, you kind of select the top two or three segments that, might make an impact on your sales and then move on. But you
Yeah,
also learn coding, which I found really interesting because I used to code ages ago, and it's really difficult.
it is. Yeah, yeah. What you said a minute ago remind me of one of the best quotes I've ever heard in advertising by the great Ogilvy, which said that when you work in marketing, you don't target armies of people. Armies, they all wear the same hat, the same coat, the same clothes. They look all the same. Uh, on we It's impossible. And he said we target moving parades. Parades are filled with people of all different backgrounds, dressed in different ways, different ages. So yeah, the way we demo different slices of population today, it's kind of old and it has to change.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
Emerson Foote, I think, who is one of the founders, of course, of the second generation of food cone and building, the original one, I can't remember what the name was, but the original people who sold it to Food Cone and Building made it one of the contract requirements that they would never use their names. They didn't want to be associated with food, cone, or building. So I thought that was funny. But he had a good phrase, which is when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one.
exactly.
Because
Yeah,
yeah, so we had that as a tenet of our faith, let's say, at
yeah,
Food Cone and
yeah.
Building.
And it's still
So
as relevant today as it was 50 years ago. Yeah.
oh yeah, but now it is more doable. Now you can actually choose to speak to like five people and actually deliver a message to five people, which I
Yeah, yeah,
find, amazing.
yeah. And look, we were talking about data a little bit. One of the things, the great things that data has is that it's uh, starting to uh, help us understand how advertising really works. Uh, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, we sort of had an idea, but it was based on hunch. Uh, Now we're starting to really understand how the mind works and how to influence people. Uh, and we're still in the infancies of that. We still have a lot to learn as marketers, but all this data is really opening a window into how we work as individuals, as humans, and giving us more insight. So yeah, I
Yeah,
welcome
yeah.
that.
So do I. I don't have any. Actually, I have always welcomed it. We were the first agency to sign, for example, an agreement, a regional agreement with Ivope, because I wanted all of our agencies to have access to the data. So in the few minutes that we got left, I'm gonna put you in the spot because of course we're all that age, right? But like, let's say you were talking to the CEO of, like a company like the ones you've worked with, or agencies like the ones that I work with, and they're considering several candidates. Some of the candidates are, I don't know, 30 years old, 40 years old, but some of them are gonna be our age, right? What do you say to that CEO about the value that people our age bring to an organization?
Hmm. The first word that comes to mind is wisdom. And I say wisdom because, after living quite a few years, I think, I had my successes, I had my failures, and, you know, I think time allows us humans to, uh, through time and those experiences, to really understand how things work, hopefully. Uh, and yeah, and I think people who have gone through many, many cycles have learned and incorporated that wisdom. If you were paying attention, obviously, wisdom comes from, experience, knowledge, but also reflection and empathy. And when you're young, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it's different. When I think I have a lot more empathy and ability to reflect today than when I was younger in my career, and I think that shows and brings value uh, at the moment of making decisions. One other thing that comes to mind is that my father was in the Navy, right? And I was exposed to that, and whenever I went to his events or meetings, or whenever I see military people in the news, what you will notice is that the top brass people who have to send people to war and die usually have gray hair. You know, you won't
Yeah.
see people, young people in those positions. So I don't know if they they build their leadership systems on purpose like that, or if it really happens organically. But I think those who have been through many cycles, many failures, and many successes, I think we're better prepared for making some important decisions. So older people, you know, are really valuable to me in organizations, not only at the moment of making decisions, but also coaching younger generations too, which that's also important.
Yes.
If you're a good leader, you want your workforce to be well coached, and and people like us in our age are better prepared for that.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. And what you said too is very important. The coaching aspect. This is something that I tell a lot of people our age they should be doing because coaching adds value to you as a person. It adds value to the company. It adds value to the other person. And in my mind, this is one of the highest callings. Can I add value to you? So,
Mhm.
so Ramiro, thank you very much. I know you're probably earlier in the afternoon, so you still have time to enjoy the rest of the day. But I wish you the best, and then you know, um, absolutely let's keep in touch. But honestly, I wish you the very best, and then lots of success with your startups.
Thank you, Marcelo. I really appreciate the invitation to participate in your podcast. It was really a pleasure, talking to you. So
Oh,
yeah,
it was
let's
a
stay in
real
touch.
pleasure. Oh yeah, yeah, but it was a real pleasure having you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Bye bye.
Thank you. Likewise.